Or Papa's teen years. Just to give context, World War II was going on from 1939 to 1945. The minimum hourly wage was 25 cents. In 1938, Orson Welles' dramatization of War of the Worlds came over the radio as a live newsreel. The average cost of house rent was $27 a month, and gas was 10 cents a gallon. Superman made his first appearance in June of 1938. 1944, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected to his fourth term as president and the only person ever to do so. And in 1945, the war ended when we bombed Japan. So what was going on in Harry's life during that time? He was an active Boy Scout and made it through to the rank of Eagle. He earned money delivering the Rocky Mount Evening Telegram for several years. Once on April Fool's Day, he got up early to replace the sugar in the sugar bowls with salt. His dad took coffee with about 3 scoops of sugar. He said it was worth the punishment just to see his father's reaction upon taking his first scoop of coffee. This is the only bad thing that our researchers could find on he had a summer job working for Uncle Marvin's company, Ray Construction, building concrete highways, and worked on Highway 64 between Raleigh and Siler City. And he attended Eastern Carolina Teachers College, now ECU, for undergrad. So the first and most important question that I have for you is you apparently had a reputation of being a very good child. Surely there was something that you did in your teenage years that would have worried your mother. Can you please tell us such a story?
Okay, we're talking about 38 to 48. Yeah, that would have been through high school graduation in 1947. Okay, I got that. The most vivid memories I have of that period of time is my experience as a Boy Scout. It was a lot different in the way scouting is today. In our troop anyway, we had a scoutmaster that had been at it a long time, and he taught the boys how to run the troop. And he spent maybe 5 or 10 minutes during a scout meeting talking, but the rest of the time, everything was done by the scouts. And we'd have contests where we could earn points, one patrol competing against another. Things like building and installing birdhouses, or going on a camping trip, or doing some type of charitable work. I was eventually became patrol leader of the Rattlesnake Patrol. And I had paid close attention and was able to lead us to victory 2 years in a row because of learning how to do things like mass-produce birdhouses. I'm not sure a bird ever got in one, but we called them birdhouses. Ended in my high school career. I was trying to think. I think I was secretary of the senior class. That's the highest thing that I ever. I know this, that foreign language was not my gift. I took 2 years of Latin and then 2 years of French. And the last semester, French ended up with me getting a D+. And no, I'll take it back to D minus. But somehow, by the time that report card got home, it had been changed to a B plus. That is my darkest secret.
Well, hey, I did that one year, and now I know where the answer must come from.
That's why when I did that in third grade math, you didn't.
He was chuckling.
That French teacher was so tough that when I got to East Carolina, I took 2 semesters of French without really working very hard and made B's on both of them. And when I became a candidate for a PhD, I had to pass a French exam, which entailed translating a scientific article written in French. And I could use a dictionary, but I passed that exam without even studying other than picking up a dictionary. She taught us so well that even making a D minus, I sailed through the rest of the French when I needed.
That's awesome.
You know, I tend to tell people more than they want to know. Like the little boy said, I just want to know what time it was, not how to make a watch.
What was it like living as a teenager during World War II with rations, blackouts, etc.? Do any memories stand out during this time?
Well, rationing was a big deal, and you would get you get coupons. I don't know exactly how often they were issued, but a family would get a book of coupons, and you could get, maybe there was one coupon that would allow you to buy 5 pounds of sugar, and another one would allow you to buy 10 pounds of flour or 4 pounds of meat. And over on that table over there, near the flag, there's a little box with some little, I don't really know what they're made out of, some type of fibrous material that looked like little pennies. They were worth a penny each, as one ration point each. That was the change. If you didn't buy all of the meat or whatever that the coupon allowed, they would give you those in change, so that next time you went to buy something, you would have that to apply toward it. We learned to not expect to find candy on the shelves in the stores. People would save up their gasoline in order to go on a short trip and you couldn't get, tires were rationed. People would ride around on tires with the tread showing because they couldn't get any more tires. Flats were very common. At one time, Rocky Mount was famous for having a big, I'm going to call it a dance, but it was during the days of the big bands, and we had famous bands that came to Rocky Mount sometime during June, and over a Saturday night, they would have hundreds and hundreds of people to show up, and these things were not held in a fancy place. They were held in a tobacco warehouse. And some of you may remember what a tobacco warehouse looks like. People in Fuquay do anyway. This is one of the largest tobacco markets in the state. But it was just a building with no interior finish at all, and a big concrete floor. And people would come all the way from New Jersey to the June German in Rocky Mount. And one year during the war, they had federal agents that took the license numbers of people from out of state that were there because they had to prove how they had the right to buy enough gasoline to drive to North Carolina. Wow. So they took it very seriously. In the grocery store, they would have a container where you would bring in grease from cooking, and they would use that grease to make glycerin, which was then converted to things like nitroglycerin, but it was, everything was safe. One of the first jobs I had as a young scout was collecting what we call scrap aluminum. We would go around door to door with a big truck and ask people if they had any ice trays or pots or pans made out of aluminum, and that they could, and we had people just give mountains of scrap aluminum, extra pans and pots and things like that. This was to help us to build the aircraft that needed the aluminum. So we were in a direct, and we also had, in our school, we'd have a collection of scrap iron. And according to the number of pounds that you brought in, you would be awarded an honorary rank of sergeant or lieutenant or even captain if you brought in enough. So we also in school would very traditionally sing patriotic songs. The Air Force didn't exist then. It didn't come into existence until after World War II. It was the Army Air Corps then. But we would sing the Navy song, the Army song, the Marine song. And another thing too, we started every school day by having a reading of scripture from the Bible and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And there were a lot of things that we did back then that are considered politically incorrect these days. I guess that's about enough.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you.
Seats.